Hello everybody and welcome to an incredibly exciting video. The Diablo team reached out to us and we have quite an amazing thing to share with you today. This is going to be the reveal of the official pattern runeword in patch 2.4. So let's get into it. So one of the coolest Easter eggs since runewords were revealed was that there have actually been additional runewords in the game files that we never saw in the actual live game before. One of these was pattern. So you'll see here on your left side of the screen, pattern in LOD was going to be a claw weapon that used 3 sockets in the runes Tal, Ort, Tyr. So Tal's going to give it poison damage, Ort was going to give it lightning damage, and then Tyr was going to give it mana per kill. In addition to that, the claw came with a lot of really good stats that would help out an early game martial arts assassin, especially somebody using dual claws, because there really weren't that many options, especially in the early game, unless you were to get lucky with a very rare set of claws that would drop off a random monster, or perhaps from your Anya quest. One of the things that I'm so excited for this is that we see this homage to the original creators, the original thought behind what this runeword should look like, but with a much needed upgrade to how the game actually works and to have a beneficial stat on it. And I'll point that one out in just a second. But if we go down the claw itself, you'll see they'll have 10% increased attack rating, as well as up to 80% enhanced damage, and then added fire damage. After that, you would have 15 all resistance, 6 to strength and deck, and then other than the other rune stats itself, it had 30% increased block chance. Now, walking into patch 2.4, we're looking at a very similar item, but with 3 key differences that I think are really going to change this and make this something that's legitimately viable for you. The runes needed for the new pattern runeword, which can only be built into claws, is Tal, Ort, and Thul. So you're going to be getting poison damage, lightning damage, and cold damage, which is incredibly important for CC, especially on a melee-focused class. You'll see that we still have a variable enhanced damage. I think it'll probably still roll up to 80% here. 10% bonus attack rating as well. You'll see that the fire damage has been slightly reduced, and that is almost certainly to balance out the fact that you're adding in cold damage and that incredibly versatile CC. We're keeping the 6 strength, the 6 dex, and the 15 all res, and then the biggest change here is that block chance has been converted over to block rate. Now, why is this so important? Well, it turns out that block chance doesn't work with weapon block. It never did. So the only way that you would get the benefit of pattern beforehand is if you're using a single claw as well as a shield. Now, with the revisions coming to martial arts and dual wielding claws going to become more prevalent, this 30% faster block rate when dual wielded will actually get you to the second fastest block rate breakpoint just with these 2 items alone. Now, some of the things to know about this runeword walking in. This is not something that you're going to be able to just throw on to a starter level assassin. This piece is going to help you transition into Nightmare and potentially into Hell, depending on how long you use it, considering the fact that you need to have an exceptional claw that can get up to 3 sockets. So that means that it's going to be at least item level 26. On top of that, the Thul rune here does mean that you're going to need to be able to farm at least normal cows or get incredibly lucky off of your normal Hellforge so that you'd be able to build this as soon as possible. But once you're into Nightmare and farming Nightmare Countess, getting your hands on a Thul rune is not going to be an issue at all. Now, what do I think about this runeword? I'm actually incredibly excited for it for a multitude of reasons, and one of those being that just how rare a good claw is to get your hands on, especially in the early game. If we were to go through the different runeword, unique, and set options for claws, you'll realize just how quickly there is really only one that's available in the early game, and I think it would probably be the best pairing to go with pattern as it stands right now. The different runeword options that you have would be a Chaos Claw, Fury, Strength, which would be second contender here, Venom, and then Wind. Some of these just are literally useless to create, then other ones are not available until the very late game. The only real exception here being Malice, and I really think that pattern and malice go hand in hand here. This bringing down your target's defense as well as ultimately reducing their defense down to 0 for longer fights, and applying an incredibly useful stat in bleed and prevent monster heal. Paired with this, your pattern rune word bringing you all resistances, faster block rate, as well as great elemental damage means that you really don't need to worry about monsters' resistances. You'll always have a damage source that's ticking at some point. As well as the bleed means, given enough time, even if you were solo southbound or playing on hardcore, where pattern really starts to shine, using that in tandem with the malice here would just be absolutely phenomenal. The unique claws are in a similar boat. Great options and ultimately what you will upgrade into, when in reality it is just very difficult to get your hands on these early game. The thing that I liken Pattern Runeword the most to would be something like Jade Talent. Now, Jade Talent is giving you tons of all resistance, and instead of faster block rate, giving you faster hit recovery. Then everything else on here is just a slight boost to your overall damage and survivability, which is basically what Pattern is in a much smaller and easier to get package. Now, what are some of the different builds that would really benefit from a claw like this and being able to build it so early? Well, on top of just your normal martial arts assassin, which is going to be seeing a lot of buffs come patch 2.4, your ability to use Dragon Claw, swap in a couple different claw attack styles like Blades of Ice and eventually Phoenix Strike will go really well with this. Getting that faster block chance as well as all res also means that you're not necessarily missing out on any survivability here while getting to dual wield, if that's the particular flavor of martial arts that you want to build. But if you were to only use a single pattern claw as well as a really early game shield, something like a Rhyme Shield since you're a melee class, or even just an Ancient's Pledge for the massive res, this will do you very well on something like a Dragon Talent Assassin. Your kick attacks will apply all of that elemental damage per hit, and you will be incredibly tanky as well as having a good amount of additional attack rating, which is something that is just so important, especially on an early game melee build. One of the best things for an early game runeword like this is that they so often will actually get phased out almost entirely once you find yourself with either a better unique, set, or rare option. But this weapon slots great into the main hand when you initially build it, and then slots into the offhand as well. This means that you're basically getting twice the longevity out of your rune word, and you aren't immediately losing the rune economy once you find a slightly better option. And while I'm getting a little bit outside of my comfort zone here, Thal being the highest rune does mean that you're able to use these claws up until level 30, so I think that's going to have a lot of good applications, especially in low-level dueling, where being able to have so much variable damage on your offhand and such incredible survivability and faster block rate will probably shine very well. All in all, I'm incredibly honored to be able to showcase this runeword for you. Again, just the legacy, the Easter egg of it being in the game files for so long, and now we're going to be able to build it for our very selves comes patch 2.4. Thank you very much to Diablo team for reaching out to me, and I'm so excited for you all to be able to build this once this goes live in the PTR. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Is this an amazing runeword? Do you think it could be bettered in any way? Do you think that the rune economy matches the power they get out of it? I would love to hear all of that, so please let me know. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.